That was a common Bengals W, and it feels very nice to be able to say that again after so long. Only one time since, I don't know, a long time ago. The Bengals get the win 45-21 over the Miami Dolphins. It would have been a lot worse, but the Bengals did so well that they pulled their starters with 10 minutes to go. This was the best Cincinnati Bengals performance of the season. The score of 21 even is a little bit misrepresentative of how the defense actually played. The Bengals did face Quinn Ewers, the 7th-round pick of the Miami Dolphins, and they put a hurting on him. 2 interceptions. They forced a bunch of fumbles, forced a couple fumbles, I think. We'll get to it. Whatever. They still did not perform well against the run. They gave up 4.6 yards a carry and 3 rushing touchdowns. That is something that has to be shored up, but we'll speak pretty positively. I'll get the negatives out of the way. The first half, the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line played worse than they had since Joe Flacco came to town. Gave up 2 sacks. Joe Burrow had to throw the ball at the ground one time, and then the second half, Joe Burrow was untouched. Joe Flacco was also untouched because the Bengals played so well that Joe Flacco ended up playing the last 10 minutes of the game. The offensive line also helped, bust out about 4 yards a carry. Offense played so good that we got to look at Taj Brooks, who got 4 carries and did not do well at all. And that's something that I've been wanting the Bengals to take a look at here late in the season is what do they have in Taj Brooks? By the way, I am Sean Ross Sapp. This is Common Bengals W. If you're here live on YouTube at Common Bengals W, send a chat. You don't have to send super chats, anything like that here, like on my day job, just doing this for love of the game. But I've already planned a bunch of shows that I'm doing in the off season as well. I'm going to have a 2024 draft grade. I'm going to have a 2025 draft grade or draft. Oh my God, I'm going backwards here. A draft grade for both of those and how those have performed since then. We'll take a look at the Bengals defensive end position, which I'm about to talk about. We're going to take a look at who's probably going to still be on the team. I plan on going live at least once a month. I would like to go live every 2 or 3 weeks in the off season as well. Like, I don't want to do what I did last year, which is where, again, I've mentioned this about 4,200 times on my show, but like I was so checked out after that Ravens Monday night or Thursday night football game that I didn't end up streaming for quite some time. Like, let me look at how long it took me. I think it took until T. Higgins re-signed or Jamar Chase re-signed or something like that. Like, it took me quite a bit before I did that. Like, it was not a good time. And I'm not doing that again. I'm going to go live a bunch. I'm going to have some videos as well. So it won't all be lives. I've already got some like shorts and stuff set for the off season, but I want to keep this thing going through the off season as well. But I got to say, the Bengals offensive line really stepped it up in the second half. And right now, really since Joe Flacco came to town, we are looking at the offensive line that Cincinnati Bengals fans have always dreamed of. Yet another game with less than 3 sacks. Got to be one of the longest stretches of Joe Burrow's career. I'll dig into that this week as well. If you don't follow me at Common Bengals W on Twitter, I've been posting a lot of like stat pictures as well. Please go show those a little bit of love. But the Cincinnati Bengals end up getting win number 5. So in the Zach Taylor era, we had a 2-win season and a 4-win season. Now, granted, those were when there were 16 games in a season, but still beating those out at least. If they can hit 6 over the next 2 weeks, well, that's better than a couple of the late Marvin seasons as well. Again, 16-game seasons back then, but I just it's one of those things where you look at how the Bengals played today and you go, boy, that sure would have been nice all season. Now, granted, it's against Quinn Ewers, but if the Bengals played against this quality of team this well throughout the season, we'd be looking at a much different season. The Bengals should have beat the Bears. The Bengals should have beaten the Jets. Bengals probably should have beat the Patriots as things stand. But instead of sitting at 8 wins, they're sitting at 5 wins. A stat popped up today, and it said Cincinnati Bengals missed tackles, and it was the most in the league, and it was 30 above the second worst team. If the Bengals not even were in second place and in like the worst of that stat, if they simply were in first place by 1, the Cincinnati Bengals probably would have beaten the Bears. They probably would have beaten the Bills. They probably would have beaten the Patriots. Probably would have beaten the Jets. And for the third straight season, I'm sitting here saying, although it's much worse this year. Last year it was, and the year before it was one play could have got the Bengals into the playoffs. It wasn't one play this year. It was certainly at minimum 3. 1 per game. But the Bengals were 1 play away from winning 4 different games this season. And instead of heading into the last 2 weeks of the season with 8, 9 wins, they're sitting here with 5. And that's what it's like to be a Cincinnati Bengals fan. Now, before I get into the game, I got to say, I loved what Mina Kimes said about like ownership should be held accountable on a national level about this. Like the conversation is always, oh, Joe Burrow is going to quit. Oh my God, Joe Burrow is going to be Andrew Luck. I don't want to hear ever anything about wrestling media in context at this point. Context is very important to me in my day job. And then I sit here and I see Bengals media, Bengals beat writers asking the questions that they should ask. Joe, how do you feel? What do you think about that? How are you feeling? And he's like, well, I see myself as a Bengal. I'm signed here. I'm playing here next year. I don't see a situation where I'm not a Bengal next year. And they say, well, what about years down the line? Do you ever think about anything else? And he goes, you think about a lot of things. They go, aha, there we go. And that's what they ran with. And I'm like, guys, like you all have it very easy. Cincinnati Bengals beat writers do not get the ownership. They don't get the general manager. Could you imagine if 16, 17 times a year, wrestling media spoke to Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes? We get that 4 or 5 times a year, and there's hardly any winning on those. I'm sitting here like at least 20 times a year. They get to speak to the top talent and the head coaches. More like 40, 50 times a year. And I'm like, that's what you do. That's the context that you erase from it. And Jamar Chasey was even like, guys, you all are taking this out of context. And I am a media guide's media guy. But also, like, I see what's happening here. Like, I read the full quote. I watched the press conference. I had people contacting me. Oh, man, I don't know. I'm kind of worried after that presser. Not me, because I watched it. I don't get it. I don't get it, man. Anyway, Zach Taylor, also really annoying that it was revealed that he signed like some sort of secret extension. First off, that shouldn't be allowed. That should be public knowledge. The team should know about that. Especially with a county paid stadium, all that stuff. There was a billboard taken out that says, fire Zach, fire Tobin, protect Joe. Listen, I like Zach Taylor as a guy. Don't mind him as a play caller. I don't think he's a great head coach. There is no circumstance of which the head coach of an NFL team should have signed a secret extension. And if he did, he certainly should not be saying to the media, you'll have to ask them about that. They don't get to ask about that because they are never made available. Whatever. We'll talk more about that at the end of the season. Let's talk about the good. Cincinnati Bengals played great. Cincinnati Bengals played really, really great. Joe Burrow, 25 of 32 for 309 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The week after one of his worst, most hopeless performances of his career, I got him in 2 leagues. I started him today. I was like, he's not going to let that happen twice in a row. Only got sacked twice. He went to Chase Brown often, like on big plays. You had Chase Brown, 4 for 4 on his targets, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns receiving. Chase Brown rushed for 66 yards, 5.5 a carry, a touchdown. Samaje Perine, his numbers, like his average isn't going to be as high because, he's getting all those short yardage things, but 3.6 and a touchdown on 7 carries, but he did his job. Taj Brooks did not look good in the very little bit that we saw of him. And next year is going to be a decision year on Chase Brown because it's the last year of his rookie deal. And I can't see them paying like a lot of money to keep him because you just draft another one and hope that they perform well. Well, they do have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I loved the T. Higgins matchup. I absolutely loved it. Who was it on? Was it on Jack Jones? Yeah, Jack Jones. T. Higgins is so much bigger than Jack Jones. And I figured they would eventually switch Jack Jones off of him because, like, Jack Jones is probably 5'10". T. Higgins is a big dude, and he would just go over top of him. Got 53 yards and a touchdown, including one where he went right over top of him. Jamar Chase, 9 receptions, 109 yards, no touchdowns, but he got out there. There was a beautiful touchdown to Mike Gesicki, but also Joe Burrow made a couple of, like, one of the worst throws I've ever seen him make. Very lucky it wasn't picked into triple coverage against Gesicki. Then he turns around on the next play. He's about to be sacked by 2 different people, throws across his body to Drew Sample, and Drew Sample picks up a 27-yard gain. Damn, bro. Yoshi Voss has all but disappeared. 1 reception for 21 yards, but it feels like they don't have like a wide receiver 3. It feels like whoever the tight end is just their third option. And you had Gesicki 3 times. You had Tanner Hudson. You had Cam Grandy. They went there 5 different times. They had 8 targets to tight ends. And they had 2 targets to wide receiver 3s. That's just the nature of where the Cincinnati Bengals are there. That first half, the offensive line played bad. It was the worst half since Flacco came to town. And then the second half, one of the best I've seen. It was such a great turnaround there. That Burrow play has to be seen to be believed. Chase Brown had a great play extender where he caught it along the sideline, went back around his left shoulder, and went into the end zone. Really great stuff. I thought Evan McPherson was going to gas out in this game, man. Yeah, I've been singing his praises all year long, and I'll say it once again. Like, was this had to be like a long snapper problem, right? Like, because they get a new long snapper, and that's not something the Bengals like seem to do, right? They kept Clark Harris for a long time until he tore his arm in that first game of the season and was out for the year. And they switched it up, and all of a sudden, Evan McPherson is virtually perfect on kicks he should be making. He did everything that he was supposed to do. He landed a field goal of 45 yards and had 6 extra points. McPherson just absolutely doing the thing. just overwhelming. Like I said, there is an excuse for almost all of his misses. Either the wind was crazy, or it's a record length that he got iced on, or the Bengals coaching staff didn't have the right balls out there. And speaking of, Ryan Rico, 52 yards average on the punt. You want to talk about an upgrade from Brad Robbins. Cincinnati Bengals, unfortunately, are without Charlie Jones, who I felt was one of the most effective return men in the league. They have Evan McPherson, who has been one of the most surefire makes this year, and Ryan Rico, who is among the best punters of the season. Let's talk about the Bengals defense. Plenty to work on there. Plenty to work on in that first half. But the second half, they came out and they did the thing. They did exactly what they were supposed to. And the next 2 weeks, you're going to be seeing some people get looks that probably won't get looks. But specifically, it was the turnovers. The Bengals needed big turnovers today, and they got them. Now, there was no pass rush at all. There were 0 sacks. Shemar Stewart allegedly played today. He had a tackle for loss, but other than that, he didn't do much of anything. Still waiting for all that chaos he provides. But Myles Murphy did create chaos. Myles Murphy was getting to people. Myles Murphy was recovering fumbles. Myles Murphy was just getting out there and being a nightmare for people. And with no Joseph Ossai, no Trey Hendrickson, Myles Murphy has made a case, and it is, again, one of those unique positions where the Bengals are going to have to decide on his fifth-year option, but he has proven himself like a quality rotational player. Now, Trey Hendrickson's probably gone. The Bengals are going to need someone with some output. I wouldn't be surprised if they offered to bring Joseph Ossai back, but that's a TBD there. Myles Murphy ended up hitting the QB. He had a tackle for loss. He had a fumble recovery, and the Bengals defense just got it done. There was Barrett Carter, who batted down 2 passes. Barrett Carter, who fell down flat on his face at one point, came through and ended up having, honestly, a really good game. He batted down a couple passes. He got a pick. Jalen Davis had a pick as well, which is something you got to feel good about. Do I still believe that they need to get a veteran presence there? Yes, I certainly do. Think they need a veteran in the secondary. But, like, geez, man, this Bengals defense was just wreaking havoc. They were doing it. Who forced the 2 fumbles today? One was just on a fundamental tackle. I think it was Jordan Battle. Jordan Battle forced that fumble with just a good fundamental tackle, and Murphy recovered it. Josh Newton forced that pick to Barrett Carter as well. So Josh Newton had himself a really good day also. Like, that was a nice one. Chris Jenkins on the IR, so we're going to get a look at some people on the interior defensive line as well. You're probably going to get to see McKinley Jackson a little bit more. So Quinn Ewers starting over Tua. And I got no problem with this for a number of reasons. I know Zach Wilson was like pissy. Well, if it's earlier in the season and you're in the playoff race, of course, you're going to start Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is not under contract to the Miami Dolphins next year. He's probably going to be gone. Quinn Ewers is going to be the backup next year. Tua is still going to be on this team as the starter next year, I believe. But they're out of the playoffs. No reason to start Tua. No reason to really have him as the backup. Quinn, you want to see what he's got. Like, I don't know, is he Brock Purdy or something? Like, find out in the last few weeks. Zach Wilson ain't going to be on the team next year. So all due respect to Zach Wilson, how does that benefit the Miami Dolphins? What are they? They're playing to figure out next year now, mathematically. I understand why the Cincinnati Bengals didn't start Jake Browning or Joe Flacco, because one, neither one of those 2 men are under contract next year. Joe Burrow is. Joe Burrow is figuring out stuff for next year. Joe Burrow is out there saying, yeah, maybe we'll need to extend Chase Brown. Maybe here's the decision we'll make on Gesicki. Mitchell Tinsley, not quite a 3, or is he a 3? Yoshi Voss, what kind of chemistry do I feel there? Let's get the line working together. There are reasons for that. Going to go to the chat now. Sorry, I've ignored you guys. Beating the Dolphins is like jaywalking. Everyone does it. No one brags about it, but it's still fun to do. Burrow helping me win my fantasy league this week. I'm losing all 3 right now. Not looking good. Sean, how's your day going? Listen, a day of football just makes me happy, man. I think y'all know I love me some professional wrestling, but there's nothing that I enjoy more these days than football. I'm excited. Oh, hiccups. Damn it. I got the hiccups. I'm excited for Louisville getting a UFL team. The Louisville Kings, Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky-ish, getting an indoor football team. I would have been satisfied with like the Columbus UFL team. I would have adopted them because all I've had is like it's not easy living here and being geographically closest to St. Louis, right? Like, I don't want to cheer for a St. Louis team. You know, it ain't fun for me because I don't like the St. Louis Cardinals and all that, but pro team in Louisville, buddy, I will be there. I'll be there game 1. What do you think about their decision keeping their head coach? I figured they would because he's got time left on his contract, but now that we know that there's like some sort of secret extension, well, definitely keeping him. And I think more of it comes down to fundamental tackling. They should have beat the Bills. Cleveland almost beat the Bills. I saw that. The Bengals have also shored up the not last place mantle so far. I mean, they can't get last place. The Browns have 3 wins. They have 5. So, they can't end up in last place. Hopefully the Lions win today. If not, I cry. I like the Lions. The Lions are like the Bengals of the NFC. What's up, my friend? Yes, go Bengals. Hooday. Refs screwed my Rams on Thursday. What about that? Was insane, right? That was insane. So here's how I feel about that. First off, one of the wildest 2-point conversions I've ever seen. If you all didn't see it, there was a play where the Seahawks had a backwards pass on a second or a 2-point conversion, and it was batted down, or it was something like that, whatever it was. And then the play was whistled dead, but a Seahawk went over there and touched it. They reviewed it, and they deemed it a backward pass and said it was a 2-point conversion. To me, you play to the whistle, and they whistled that play dead. They should have, at best, replayed the down. I'm with you. Your Rams did get screwed. Chiefs have lost a second QB. I think I saw where someone put the Minshew tore his ACL. Get well soon to Gardner Minshew. I mean, like, I don't know. I assume Patrick Mahomes will probably be playing next September. I think that he will be, knowing him. Gardner Minshew probably will be a mid-season acquisition or a third-string guy or something like that. But this is like, I want to see Patrick Mahomes not go to the playoffs. I mean, he wasn't already, but I don't want to see him hurt. There's nothing fun about that. Bengals win the Super Bowl 2027. I would give almost anything. If it meant the Bengals winning a Super Bowl, I'd take a full year off of wrestling coverage. How was your weekend, Sean? It was good. It was good. Simon says the Bengals defense showing signs of improvement. It is. There definitely is. If Matthew Stafford retires, give the Rams 2 first-rounders for Burrow. It would take at least 4 first-rounders for Joe Burrow. And I mean at least 4 and then more. It'd take a lot more. It'd take a ton. As a Bills fan, can't complain about the Finns being a train wreck. The GM job is not attractive at all. I agree. Charles says the Cincinnati sports team doing the least amount of effort to build through the offseason and free agency. Yep. I know he'll be drafted in the next offseason. What's your take on Arch Manning? Do you think he'll be a success in the NFL? I do not follow college football, actually. I'm not a big college football guy. I was for a while, but now so much of the wrestling happens on Saturdays, and that's what got compromised there. That's what got sacrificed there. But listen, he had a big turnaround this year from what he did earlier this year. I think he'll be more productive. I listen here. Honestly, I think he should come back next year, especially considering the amount of money he'll make with NIL. I would get as much seasoning as possible because it's ruthless in the NFL. If you don't work out in like a year or two, gone. Now, I'm sure he'll get additional chances, but Manning is staying at Texas, says Tim. There you go. It shows how much I follow. He should stay at Texas. He absolutely should. Guys, I will have another stream. Let's look at the Bengals schedule next couple weeks. 1 p.m. next weekend. That's after AEW World's End as well. And then Browns TBD. I'll be live after both of those. Very winnable games for the Bengals as well. So the Bengals could end up with 7 wins. And here we are. Just sitting here looking. Watching. Like we have the last 3 seasons. Again, I'm going to have a bunch of off-season shows. I'm going to have a 2025 look back. We're going to talk about the Bengals defensive end situation. We're going to grade the 2024 and 2025 draft individually. We're going to talk about who's gone, who isn't. I'm going to review the Dallas Cowboys Stadium and the Denver Broncos Stadium, both of which I visited in the last year and change. And we'll do a draft preview as well. So at the very least, and I mean at the very least, 1 show a month. I'm going to try to go do shows at least every 2 or 3 weeks, though. I hope you guys have enjoyed things so far this season. And listen, we're riding it out the last 2 games. We're doing it. We'll probably have like a show based on who's picked for the Pro Bowl as well. But follow me at Common Bengals W on Twitter. Subscribe at Common Bengals W on YouTube. We're out.